As an organization of farmer members, Erie County Farm Bureau and all New York farmers need your help in educating your fellow consumers and your elected officials to the unintended consequences of hasty actions and the financial and human cost of not considering the results of those actions. Similar to playing chess, one decree, law, or executive action can have great unintended negative repercussions. For example, the legislative timetable as outlined by Governor Kathy Hochul for discontinuing natural gas and fossil fuels does not take into account the complete scope of this action. There are a multitude of issues with the stated timetable to eliminate natural gas, including the technology to economically replace natural gas and other fossil fuels does not exist. The great cost and scale of infrastructure and electric grid changes that would need to occur in rural areas. The loss of grain crops if not dried properly. The loss of greenhouse crops. The cost or even the possibility of producing field crops such as grain and hay without diesel fuel or gasoline. The loss of life and property if there was no natural gas or propane to run backup generators or stoves during power outages. The inherent inefficiencies of wind generators when initial installation cost plus the cost of maintenance is compared to output. The importance of recognizing that wind generators do not work without wind or too much wind, and solar panels do not work in the dark. The environmental impact of manufacturing and disposal of electric vehicle batteries. Please advise your elected officials to refrain from a hasty approach and to follow an economically sensible and scientific approach in adapting to changing climate, whether man-made or natural. Advise them to include you and farmers in their considerations. Farmers by profession are optimists, and they have always adapted to changing climate and weather, but they may not be able to adapt to legislative changes. Of all the professions in the world, the only person that you really need every day is a farmer. Thank you for watching and listening. Erie County Farm Bureau.
We'd like to ask you some questions regarding some of the legislation that's coming down that may negatively affect farming operations here in Erie County and New York State. And the question is, if there was to be a directive aimed at farmers to convert your operation to all electric, which would mean natural gas usage would go away, also diesel and gasoline usage would go away, how do you feel that directive would affect you?
Well, it'd have a big impact, especially if they demanded the change in a short period of time. We use natural gas from some from a well right here on the farm, and the rest comes from National Fuel. Replacing that with electricity would take a significant amount, significantly more electricity than we presently use. As far as fossil fuels, that change would be an extreme change for everything that we do, because all the tractors and trucks and so forth run on fossil fuels, on diesel or gasoline. The investment required to change all that equipment over would be pretty astounding if we had to do it all at once.
Do you feel confident that if there were a power outage, that your farm could sustain operation using electric?
Yeah. We have occasional power outages from the grid, and we have a backup generator powered by diesel that's large enough to run the entire farm and the surrounding homes associated with it. So we're prepared for any outage at any time, and we have to be, because we run 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We're always milking cows. We always have people working here 24 hours a day. So everything has to be going.
So one of the questions is here, Bill, do you have a plan for replacing natural gas when the New York State ban on natural gas goes into effect?
I used to think that our biggest challenge was Mother Nature. because we can't predict. And to say that we have a plan of what we're going to do, how it's going to work, how it would even look, isn't even close in what we have the knowledge of. I mean, I do not know how we would take this process of picking peppers and loading and then being able to have that tractor be able to go and be charged up enough and go and take away and put everything to electric. I know even less on what it would take to run our greenhouses in the wintertime and how you would even begin to heat your greenhouses with all electric and how it would even be cost effective to do that. Now, I think we try in this community and as farmers to be as eco-friendly as we can be. I mean, we want to be the part of the solution, not the problem, but I also don't know that we have an infrastructure set up yet that how we would handle that type of scenario. For the greenhouses, especially in the wintertime, it's essential that we have backup because if that power does go off, then our circulator pumps and everything that does take the hot water or lights and or venting and heaters and computers and everything that is using the power already. But our backup is a gas-fired generator that the gas, it will kick on and whatever. But when it's zero outside and the power goes out, you have minutes to react, or you will have tens to hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of plant material gone in a matter of hours if you could not get that heat and get the scenario back put together again. To be able to say that we would get all of our equipment every day back to a certain charging station or a place until this thing could get where there would be portable energy that you could take the energy to the field. You don't have to take all of your equipment to a spot. So I think it's great to have these goals. I think it's wonderful that we could be part of the solution, but to implement things and just make laws that just say it's cut and dry, black and white, and it has to happen by this date, until we know that infrastructure is ready to go, we've got enough challenges in this business. We don't need to add this as one of them.
Most crops are grown with synthetic fertilizers such as nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, and some trace minerals blended to the nutrient ratio that plants need. Synthetic fertilizer availability and cost is tied to the cost and availability of petroleum and natural gas. The use of synthetic fertilizers is the biggest reason that so few farmers can feed so many people. With the lower nutrient percentages that are found in organic fertilizers, which are derived from organic sources such as compost and manure, as much as 3 times the quantity of organic fertilizer per acre is required to produce the same yield, and there is not enough organic fertilizer available to meet the required amount. Organic fertilizer also does not have the same ratio of nutrients as synthetic fertilizer, requiring that additional products are added to supply the missing nutrients. Most farmers in the country, including those in Erie County and the rest of New York State, do not get to set their own prices for commodities like meat, dairy, and grains. Farmers sell for wholesale prices and they purchase their inputs and machinery at retail prices. They cannot stay in business if they can't pay their bills, and they can't pay their bills if the government artificially changes the rules of the game with laws, actions, and decrees. Farmers are not against change, but to be sustainable, change needs to be economically feasible. New York farmers play an important part in feeding our nation. In the 2017 agricultural census, New York is shown to be a leading agricultural state, worth $5.75 billion in revenue. The latest data from the New York Farm Bureau website shows that according to the same agricultural census, there were 33,438 farms in New York State and 6.8 million acres in production. New York farms employ 53,363 people. All sectors of agriculture, including processing, are responsible for nearly 200,000 jobs in New York State. In his 2021 report, New York State Comptroller Thomas DiNapoli stated, "Agriculture supports jobs and communities throughout New York. Agriculture, particularly the family farm, is vital to New York's health and economy. Many of our farms face significant challenges to their bottom line, making it important for the state to ensure that this sector continues to thrive." More New York State statistics from the 2017 agricultural census. 98% of farms in New York are family-owned. 6.8 million acres are in production. This is down from 7.1 million in 2012. The average farm size is 205 acres, up from 202 acres in 2012. There are 21,860 female producers and 35,985 male producers. The average producer age is 55.8 years old. 6,718 producers are under the age of 35. Most concerning from these statistics is the fact that only 6,718 out of 57,845 farmers are under the age of 35. The average age of a New York State farmer is 55.8 years old. Who will be growing our food in the future? Farmers are well educated in agricultural practices and methods, with many having undergraduate or even graduate degrees in agriculture or related sciences. Since the land is their responsibility, farmers draw on their education and scientific information to operate their farms and are very protective stewards of their land through the use of conservation practices that protect the soil and minimize negative impacts on streams and the environment. Farmers are also protective stewards of their animals, and they keep up to date on proper animal husbandry practices, as sick animals do not make any money for the farm. Many farms are also certified by third-party auditors for food safety and animal welfare.